It's time to pick a side. The border war is on the air with BG and TanMan.
All right, folks, welcome into episode 120 of the Border War. This is BG. I'm here with TanMan. I am outside the studio via the telephone. We can do all kinds of technology here at the Border War. We are able to put a phone on speaker and hold it up to our microphone.
It's unbelievable. You can be in parts unknown and still broadcast our show. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, this is crazy to me, but this phone I'm using, it doesn't even have any wires, TanMan. Doesn't even have a rotary on it.
Huh.
Yeah. I mean, who knew stuff like this existed? But
does it flip up?
So episode 120, here we are. We're going to be talking NBA basketball today. Obviously, the finals, 2 games old now. But before we do that, just a reminder that you can listen to us on Spreaker or on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I think we have a YouTube channel. Pretty much everything out there except for iHeartRadio because they don't think we're good enough. You can follow us on Twitter at The Border War. You can follow me at BG_Border War. And TanMan is at TanMan32664.
Oh, see, now look at you. Spelling out the whole Twitter handles. Last episode, I gave you a break. I said, I'm not going to do BG like that. And here you are reciting the whole thing. I'm proud of you, man. You're coming around.
Yeah, I'm a little. I've been shoveling mulch all day, so I might be suffering from heat exhaustion. It's hard to say.
It's possible. That's a terrible job.
There, though, just a thing I learned today: 1 scoop of mulch does not go as far as you think it will.
No.
Speaking of going as far as you think it will, does anybody think this finals is going to go to 7 games? This might be a short show, man. I don't know that there's. You asked on the last show if the Raptors had blown it. I actually already gave away my answer on the show, and I tweeted it out after Game 1. I tweeted, I think, last Friday morning, or maybe, Friday morning. If the Raptors don't win both these games, it's still over, and I think that's true.
You said, would it go so like I'm gonna like sheepishly like in the back of the classroom kind of raise my hand a little bit, not really all the way up, just enough to catch the teacher's attention. Look, man, the first 2 games, I know that Toronto kind of feels like they gave one away last night. I texted a buddy a little bit before halftime. I said, the Warriors are in trouble, man. Like, they just don't look right. I can't put my finger on it. And then about that time, boom.
Cousins in particular, I
boom,
thought
they
just
went
looked
off.
like he didn't even belong on the court.
Well, in Game 1, he looked, in Game 1, Cousins, I think he only played like 7 minutes. Hit a couple free throws, hit a few free throws. In Game 2, I thought he was much better. He gave them a lot more, 28 minutes. They said going in, they thought about 20. He gives them almost 30. He's got 11 and 10 last night. I actually thought Cousins did a fantastic job. But in Game 1, the Raptors won 118-109. I thought they got out. They got out and ran. I thought they did an excellent job of that in the first half in Game 2. I felt like they were just outrunning Golden State, which you don't see often. But the difference was in Game 1 for Toronto, Marc Gasol gave them 20. Pascal Siakam gave them 32.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Siakam, to me, is the story of that game because, when you get 32, and I mean, obviously, Golden State did a pretty good job in the first game defending Kawhi, and he played 43 minutes, only 23 points. I mean, I know that sounds crazy, but this is a guy that is capable of putting up high 30s, low 40s pretty consistently. Lowry, no-show, just nothing, 7 points. So if it weren't for Pascal Siakam at that other forward position, I mean, this isn't even a basketball game, let alone a Raptors win.
Like I said,
Van Vliet does his job. I mean, he's the best 6th man in basketball. When he comes off and he gives them 33 minutes, which, I mean, that's I don't know how you call that coming off the bench, but 15 points.
I say he gave them 38 last night.
But Lowry, again, just a disappointment. Gasol's good, but Siakam, if they don't get 32 from him in that game, I'm not sure what that ends up looking like.
Well, look, in game one, like we said, Siakam with 32, Gasol with 20. Danny Green hit some big threes. He was 3 for 7 from behind the arc after disappearing the whole series with Milwaukee. He gave them a nice punch in game one. In game two, it was the exact opposite. Siakam goes from 32 to 12. Danny Green, he goes from 11. He goes to 8. He was pretty much a non-factor last night. And Marc Gasol, 6 points last night. With that said, BG, this is why I think that this series is far from over. Golden State went on a 20-0 run into the first half, beginning of the second half, and I think kind of pushed Toronto back, kind of stunned them a little bit. At the end of that ball game, Toronto is like a fingertip save by Sean Livingston away from Kawhi Leonard stealing that ball and going the other way, probably tying that ball game and sending it to overtime. They didn't lay down, they didn't quit last night. They got right back in the game, and with basically Kawhi Leonard getting no help from anybody other than Fred VanVleet last night, they had an opportunity to win. So with that said, Golden State said, look, kind of feels like, when you go on the road to start a series, you want to split. That's what they did. But going to Oracle for games 3 and 4, I think Toronto's going to be able to stay in it, but it's imperative that they get a split out there.
Well, yeah, I think that goes without saying. I think if you're Toronto, you really are just trying to hold serve and continue to shorten this series and hope you get it to a game 7. That's you really felt like, or at least maybe I'm saying me, I felt like for Toronto to feel like they had a legitimate, like a better than 40% chance of winning this whole thing. They needed to sweep them at home, and they certainly could have.
Probably should have.
Yeah, no, probably should have. Yeah, you're right. Because if you look at Golden State's point distribution, it's a little bit better last night, but both games it's really been Clay and Steph. They've done a good job containing Draymond Green. Looney's giving them nothing. Like, he literally didn't score last night. You're right. Cousins played a lot better. Andre Iguodala has not been hitting those monster threes from the corner. He's sort of been contained in both games. It's almost like they're sort of just said, look, we're not going to stop these two guys from scoring, but nobody else is going to beat us. And they're not going to beat you by themselves. Unlike Kawhi, who can absolutely beat you by yourself. What's the current situation with KD?
They said the other.
I think it would be pure chaos to throw him into this mix at this point.
Look, they said the other day that there's a possibility that he could come back in at some point, game 3 or 4. More likely 4 than it would be 3.
Has he practiced yet?
No. And
that's what I was about to say. I didn't even think he'd been on a court.
That's kind of where I stand with the whole key. Like, I just have a feeling like he's not coming back. That's just just a hunch.
To feel that way.
Just a hunch. Like, I don't think he's coming back. And here's the thing with Golden State and him. He is, take Duke when if you remember back when Zion Williamson got hurt for Duke, and I said, look, Zion Williamson is what made them different from everybody else. Without him, they were just another really good team with a couple talented players and not a very deep bench. Like, I think Kevin Durant on this team is what makes them different from everybody else. If he doesn't come back in this series, then look, Toronto might not win it, but they've at least got a puncher's chance. And I think, if nothing else, we've seen the first 2 games, they can stand in there and trade blows with Golden State as long as he's out. But if he comes back, I think all bets are off. If he comes back and he's fully healthy, I don't think that there's anything the Raptors are going to be able to do.
Healthy because you wonder, you would think in the finals, if he was 80% right now, he'd be on the court. You wouldn't be able to keep him off the court. So that makes me think that he's not 80%.
See, I don't know. I don't know exactly where on the spectrum of that percentage line that he would be. I think if he was 80, I think Steve Kerr would still hold him out. I don't think Kerr would put him out there until he was 100% good to go, because the thing with that, if it's a calf, and I still have my doubts about whether or not it was really his calf. Chris Webber said when it happened that that's his Achilles. It looks exactly like Kobe Bryant did when Kobe Bryant tore his Achilles. So I have my doubts as to whether or not it's really a calf.
Well, and again, whether you were planning on playing him or not, if there actually is even a chance, because we originally heard he might be back for game 2, right? Before the first game.
Yeah.
He's not even warming up at practice. He's not jogging. He's not running sprints. He's not doing anything.
He's not done anything other than get some shots up. I mean, that's like he's not, like you said, he's not running. He's not practicing. He's not doing anything. The good thing for him is I think they play Game 3 Wednesday night, and then I think they play Game 4 somewhere around the middle of August. So he's going to have plenty of time to work on whatever it is that's ailing him. But no, just a hunch. Like I don't think he's coming back. I don't think he is. But I don't know.
Well, no one does. But but if he's not coming back, I think they all know that.
Yeah.
And I think that's known in the locker room, at least. If he's really not coming back, then I doubt they're being politically correct with one another about it.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll say, yeah, I'm fascinated to see what happens with that, because, and really him in general, because this offseason he's going to be the one that kind of dictates what happens around the NBA for the next 5 years. One day you hear, he's definitely going to New York, and then it's, the Clippers kind of have piqued his interest a little bit. We know we talked about the press conference after Golden State beat the Clippers about how some of the Clippers players were discussing Durant and his abilities, like they're cool with him. And then you hear, he might wake up and decide to stay in Golden State and just stack rings on top of rings. So who knows, man? The whole situation, like I said, just fascinates me to no end. I can't wait. I think the NBA has completely stolen the summertime from the NFL, and it's not even close anymore. But back to this series, BG. They're going to the Raptors. They're going to Oracle. It has been a difficult place for teams to win ball games. It may be the understatement of the year. Toronto, like I said, first half last night, they looked fantastic. Second half, they started off and got punched in the mouth. Fought their way back. Just couldn't quite close it out.
Golden State's danger time, right? Coming out at halftime. That's when they usually leave people behind.
Are they going out there to Oracle, and are they going to steal one and take the home court back from the Warriors? Or by the time they come home for Game 5, is it going to be pretty much a wrap at 3-1?
I think they win one. And I like their chances to win this next one a little more than the second game. I think maybe we see the exact same pattern that we saw in Toronto. Just Raptors win one, Golden State wins one. I think at this point this has a pretty good shot at going 7 games.
I think if they win one, it's got to be the first one.
That's how I'm thinking too.
Yeah, if they're going to take one, it's got to be that first one. Because I think if you let Golden State get if you let them get ahead of you in the series, it's going to be hard to hawk them down. Yeah, it's going to be hard to hawk them down. They get a chance to go up 3-1 on you. I think they're going to capitalize on it. So I think the Raptors are going to get Game 3. And again, I'm interested to see if they get Game 3 and go up 2-1. Does that speed up the Kevin Durant timeline? If they take if Golden State wins 3, maybe Durant sits 4, and you save him for a closeout game and buy him another week or so of time. But if you're staring at the possibility of maybe being down 3-1, maybe, like I said, maybe they press the fast forward button on that a little bit and get him in there a little sooner.
Okay,
Let's see how that affects the series.
We've got a little extra time here. So, what do you think about this scenario? Because, legacy in the NBA just seems to matter so much.
Mm-hmm.
What if the Warriors win this thing? Let's say they do it kind of quickly, just to play what if. What if they win the next 2 games? This thing's over.
Oh yeah,
right?
Yeah, no doubt.
Okay, and whether it's because he can't or won't or whatever, KD doesn't play in any of these games.
Okay.
So they win a title without him. Does that change how he gets to walk around in retirement 10 years from now with the number of rings on his finger? Or do you say, well, they wouldn't have made it to the finals without him? Because I'm going to keep reminding people they won 73 games before he joined this team. What does that do to his legacy? I mean, to me, that's the most. I think that's why I just think if he can play, that he's going to at least get on the court. But because I wonder about that asterisk.
Like if they win
I think that drives guys like him crazy.
If they win it without him.
You got to remember now, this is a guy that argues with people on Twitter about his free throw percentage. I mean, this guy cares what everybody thinks.
If they win it without him, do you think?
And are we saying that's a distinct possibility? I mean, you seem to think so.
What do you mean? Of them,
they win it without him.
If they win it without him, the question is, do you look at Kevin Durant differently?
Yeah. Does he get to count this one?
Yeah, he gets to count it. And no, I
Does he really get to count it? I don't know. If I were him, that would eat me up.
I don't look at 10 years down the road this wouldn't. If they were to win this one and he didn't play a minute, that doesn't change my perception of him at all, because I'm going to go back to going, okay, the 2 that he won where he was the finals MVP, I think it was the first one that he won out there. In the closeout game, just cold-blooded on the road in LeBron James's face, stepped up and hit that 3 and basically hit the same shot a year later. No. Kevin Durant is the baddest man on the planet on a basketball floor. So no, if they win one without him, I'm just gonna be like, look, to me, that would be more of a statement on an organizational statement, just how good this team is from top to bottom. They're getting contributions right now from guys like Steve Kerr. Just goes down his bench and pulls guys up, and they're making stuff like Quinn Cook last night. Quinn Cook gave him 21 minutes, and right there late in the ball game, when Toronto had started kind of chipping away, I think they cut it to something like 4 at one time, midway through the fourth quarter, and Quinn Cook gave him 3 just daggered. Every time they would make a bucket, Quinn Cook came down. I think he hit 2 or 3 threes late in that game. Somebody like that, they're just going to these guys that you can't even tell who they were. If they walked in your house with their picture on a shirt and says, "Hey, my name is Jonas Jerebko," you wouldn't know who Jonas Jerebko was. You know what I mean? So to me, that's more of a statement on how good of a team and an organization and a coaching staff that is than it is a Kevin Durant question. Does that make sense?
It does. I mean, I think one other possible way it impacts his legacy is just the grief he's taken for going to this team to begin with.
Well, now I think if they
can win it, if they can beat the best record in basketball without a single minute of basketball from him, then it really does make him look like he was purely interested in winning rings. But I mean, we've talked about that. Well, isn't that what everyone is interested in?
I say this. I think my personal opinion, which is I guess pretty much what the show, what all podcast and talk show radio is about, is your opinion. I think he's out of there. I don't think he's coming back, regardless of if they win it or not. But if they don't win it, then I think that might be, that could be enough to keep him around. Like he might go, okay, yeah. I can't.
I know you keep talking, and you've been holding up Toronto this whole time.
And then I jumped.
Don't count them out. But let me just say.
Then I jumped off the bandwagon right before it took off for the finals.
Well, so. I was trying to let you off the hook there, but you had to bring it up.
Yeah, I want to be honest.
But here's the thing. I think a lot of people are with me, and I'm going to believe that Golden State is not going to be your champion when they're not.
Yeah.
Because this team is, as of right now, I mean they're every bit as dominant as the Bulls were in the 90s. I mean, maybe more so. I mean, they certainly won more games in a season, and now you can make the argument that the Bulls weren't trying to do that as hard as Golden State did. But no, this I just have a hard time, and I think those guys all know too that this isn't going to last very much longer at all. I think they pull it out, even if it takes 7 games.
Yeah, it's kind of
with or without Durant. With or without him.
That's kind of what my buddy,
as far as the actual result.
Yeah, that's kind of what my buddy said last night. Whenever he quickly rebuked my Warriors are in trouble theory, he said, "Look," he said, "until Toronto is up 60 in a closeout game, I'm not going to believe that the Warriors are in trouble."
Yeah.
And then, like I said, about that time, they promptly went on a run that has literally never happened in an NBA Finals game in the history of the league. So,
yeah.
What the heck do I know? So that's it for episode. What is it? My thing got turned upside down. Episode 120. Episode 120. Again, you can follow us on Twitter at The Border War. We're on Facebook. Search for us, The Border War Podcast. We're on Spreaker, Spotify, all those things. You can email the show at carolinaborderwar@gmail.com. Not sure about the schedule for next week. BG hinted about it. We'll be taking some vacations and off for the next few weeks. So just give us a follow on Twitter or Facebook. Keep up with the show. We'll post all the information there when it becomes available. BG, until next time, my friend, we're out of here.